Hello my friends and welcome. Let's go straight to the most difficult direction on the front lines, Pokrovsk-Dobropilya direction. So this is Pokrovsk, as you may see, and this is Dobropilya. And just a couple of days ago, Russia made the breakthrough Ukrainian new defense line. Well, now Ukraine tries to cope with that, deploying the Azov Corps to the place. I have the information, like it's public information where they are deployed, because Azov spokesman confirmed the area, not exactly the place, but the area where they're operating. Nevertheless, this breakthrough is far to be stopped. And what is happening in real life is actually worse than you may see on this military map update from the deep state. Actually, Russians have one more attack vector towards Dobropilya itself. The fight was reported in Novy Donbass village. Plus, Russian drones operate in Dobropilya itself. Plus, there were solid reports about the presence of the Russian army at the road which connects Dobropilya and Kramatorsk. I think I mentioned it yesterday already, but today we have one more confirmation from OSINT Analytics. And as you may see on this map, Russians broke definitely through Ukrainian defense. Totally for the 3 days, if we calculate the distance from the previous Russian positions to the road, it's roughly 17 kilometers. And it is the highest pace of the Russian army, maybe even since 2022. Because even in Avdiivka back in 2023, they advanced slower. Now let's go to this military map, because it shows good details. It is from Michael73. The link for his social media is in the video description just below, where you may find the link for this map. So about the Azov soldiers, one thing I know, that there is the road which connects Dobropilya and Kramatorsk, and they are deployed somewhere at this road. Or at least their press secretary said like that. I think that they should be deployed close to the front lines here, or maybe in two of those directions areas. Maybe in Dobropilya itself. Well, I don't have this information, and if I had, I wouldn't share it with you right now, because I don't think it's a proper thing to share it. But according to Azov themselves, they're somewhere at this road. About the Azov regiment, it was reformed to the 1st Azov Corps in April 15 this year. Not long time ago, right? And they're very capable soldiers, who unfortunately used as the emergency firefighters to plug the holes in Ukrainian defense. In this case, and actually it reminds me of the situation in Avdiivka in 2023, then emergency services of the 3rd Assault Brigade and Azov regiment were deployed, then Avdiivka was almost fully encircled. But still, even with those capable emergency forces, Ukraine lost Avdiivka. However, the guys from the 3rd Assault Brigade and Azov, they helped to organize the proper evacuation for the rest of the Ukrainian army from Avdiivka, minimizing the losses for Ukrainian army. So what I want to say here, that the deployment of the 1st Azov Corps doesn't really guarantee the successful operation for Ukraine to stop this Russian offensive. So far, mainly the assault of the Russian army is uncontrollable by Ukrainian military. Yeah, there is some of the resistance happening, but Russians are sending more and more troops to this area very fast. And those are not the small Russian sabotage groups any longer. Yeah, they go forward with the small sabotage groups, but after they send more reinforcements. However, for this attack, still Russians do not use armored vehicles, just light all-terrain vehicles and motorcycles, and Russians just walk. They also have the special anti-drone wear, like ponchos, which hide the thermal trace of the body, and they propel mostly during the night time. And yes, I heard the comments that, oh, they advance just with infantry, so for Ukraine it will be the easy task to get rid of them. No, it's very complicated to get rid of infantry. The most complicated thing, actually, because they are small, they're maneuverable, they may hide for a long time in the basements, in the tree lines. Plus, they may use Ukrainian defense line, which they already bypassed their dots, their trenches. So I would say that judging on the current Ukrainian resources, it is very difficult, if not impossible, to get rid of this Russian hump which they created already across the main Ukrainian defense. And yeah, some people say, oh, Dennis, you're panicking, everything is normal, blah, blah, blah. No, it's not normal at all. It's the great threat for Donbass, for the entire group of Ukrainian army. You see, the main part of the Ukrainian army is deployed here. And this is the most difficult direction for Russia to advance, actually, from all of the Ukrainian front lines. Yeah, Ukraine also built some of the trenches in Zaporizhia, but Zaporizhia is a very flat terrain, so advancement there for Russia will absolutely be devastating, like crazy losses. Now, they also have crazy losses here. Ukraine is using the lines, for example, Slavyansk, Kramatorsk, and all of those settlements together with Konstantinivka, which is under the great threat now. So it is the main Ukrainian defense. And if Russians already broke through the new defense line, the purpose of which was to stop the main Russian offensive, it means that the situation is bad. Bad for, I would say, entire Ukraine, for Donbass especially, but entire Ukraine, I mean, because again, the main group of Ukrainian army is deployed here. This is the most protective area. If Russia takes this under control, later on, the offensive of the Russian army could be much, much faster. Yeah, I'm not panicking. I'm telling you the situation as it is. And again, we see the mistake from Ukrainian commanders, incompetence of Ukrainian command. I can say it openly, and many our soldiers and volunteers, they support this idea that Ukraine just overslept this Russian attack. And this morning, Syrskyi says, okay, we're gonna send some of the reinforcements. But except of Azov, which already deployed in this area, there are no extra reinforcements possible in the next couple of days, because our troops, they cannot be deployed in a matter of seconds. No, they need at least couple of days to go there. Plus, soldiers are unaware of the new environment, so actually it might take lots of the time, and Russia is using this time to propel forward and to expand this bridgehead. Again, the situation on the ground is worse than you see on this map. And guys, again, we are not living in the world of the pink ponies. No, this is the real situation. It is happening right now, and I'm telling you as it is. Alright, Zelensky with his evening address already mentioned the situation in Pokrovsk-Dobropilya direction. There was the meeting with the Ukrainian command where they discussed of how to deal with this issue. Okay, it should have been done a few days ago at least. Well, the good thing that Zelensky said that Ukraine will not withdraw the forces from Donbass because it will open Russia the way to occupy more of the Ukrainian territories, including Dnipro city, Kharkiv, and so on. But if situation continue to be like that, maybe next year Russia could occupy Donbass using just military force, so Ukraine would not need to voluntarily withdraw from the area. Russia might have the military capabilities to do so, judging on their recent movement. Yes, they might announce the new mobilization, but in general, the aim for Putin to occupy Ukraine or to put the puppet government to rule Ukraine is higher than the threat to announce a new mobilization. Well, Zelensky also mentioned that the Russian groups which penetrated Ukrainian defense will be just eliminated. I hope so, but the chances for it are quite low. From Ukrainian official news, guys, honestly, we have Delulu information, so that's why I refer to Telegram channels, to experts, also in analytics, because media, it's all about propaganda. Here they say about attempts to advance towards the village of Zoloty Kolodets, and then this attempt was actually successful and the fight is ongoing for this village already. So saboteurs were deployed, but according to my information, plus two saboteurs, Russia sends regular army already there because defense was breached. And the General Staff spokesman say that some of the groups have already been eliminated and the rest are in the process of being eliminated. Like, the situation is controllable, then in fact it is not. Well, we have the reports from some of the Ukrainian channels that Ukraine started a counter-offensive, that one of the several of the groups of the Russian soldiers were captured, and we push Russians in this area, but this source is not really competent, I would say. I trust more military OSINT analytics and our soldiers, our officers on the ground. And they say that no, Russia continued to expand this bridgehead. Right, and the recent remark from Zelensky, he says that Russia is getting for the new assault attempt, like the major attack. So what is happening right now is not this major attack yet. So in September, he says that Russia might strike Donbass even harder, and also Russians could assault to Zaporizhia, where Ukraine actually has robust defense, but we see that Russia with the small groups, they may bypass that defense. However, here in this area, it's kind of complicated for them. As I told you, just flat flat earth there, flat earth. And guys, about the crazy Russian losses, it's the Russian tactics. They may allow right now to have those losses, otherwise they wouldn't be using the mid-wave tactics. Especially right now, then they see the outcome, they may use these tactics even more, so it's like encouragement for the Russian military command, for the Russian political elite. For them, it's the evidence that this tactics works, and they may announce the new mobilization. I think it might happen next year. And about the end of this war or ceasefire, I don't think that Russia is really interested in that, especially right now that they have advantage. A strange report also came today from the Ukrainian military command. They say that Novokonstantinovka and Stepne villages in the Sumy region were liberated. But even on this map you may see that they were not occupied. So this is Stepne, and here Russia didn't attack those villages. Maybe there was small sabotage attack, but not marked. But even if we go like maybe to June, yeah, there was no fighting going on in this place, nothing. So I don't know why they did this report, maybe for some of the positive news from the front lines, judging on the current situation in the east. Well, in Sumy region, Ukraine after all is successful, yeah, with multiple of the counterattacks, but Donetsk direction, for now it's just terrible. So what is next in this Pokrovsk, Dobropilya and Konstantinovka direction? With this recent Russian attack, they create a threat for Dobropilya, they may advance to Belozersk, and they might move also eastbound. That is what they did, actually advancing across the highway before, so now they create the threat with this hump to Konstantinovka and also to Mirnograd. By the way, we have bad news from Rodinske. Russians already entered the settlement with today's attack, and as I said to you before, if Russians occupy Rodinske, Ukraine should withdraw the forces from Mirnograd, otherwise Russians might trap Ukraine in Mirnograd. Later in this video I'm gonna show you more detailed maps coming from the place. But the actual picture is greater because with this Russian movement, actually Russians create the threat for entire Donbass, as I told you, maybe for 3 videos already consecutive. Yeah, it's like that actually for the long-term scenario. So yeah, this settlement of Rodinske, Russians enter it today, or maybe it happened yesterday. I have more detailed map. As you may see, this is the Russian attack vector, and they already put a small bridgehead occupying few of the households in Rodinske itself. Well, there are some of the Ukrainian defense lines in this area, but as on practice we saw that they were not able to stop Russian advancement. For example, those defense lines, and over here it looks like a robust line, but it was penetrated, you see. But guys, sometimes don't trust those kind of the maps. Like for example, Institute for the Study of War, they show this red vector of the Russian attack deep into Pokrovsk. Then in fact, here in this case, indeed, there were small sabotage Russian groups which were already eliminated. We have the confirmation about it. I told you about it in my last video with the frontline update, so there is no major breakthrough or something. Sometimes just few soldiers enter Pokrovsk, and Ukraine was capable to imprison even many of those. So this picture here is not real for the time I'm recording this video. But Rodinske, as I told you, here they don't show it, but Russians moved into the settlement. As I mentioned to you, showing different source, and that was confirmed. Alright, and to this update in Chasiv Yar I have more detailed map about this specific place. It is like that, this is the fast assault, and Russia already penetrated this Ukrainian defense line, so for them it's kind of the free way later on to advance, and this is already the gray area. Apparently Ukraine still holds in Chasiv Yar, then Russia reported that they fully occupied it, even Putin himself said that, but it's just temporary. Russia will advance and take this place. It is already understandable, they move further, they want to, maybe they will turn like this. So in a close-by perspective, Russia will go to Konstantinovka here, and Ukraine will withdraw the forces from this southern region, because Russia is very close, closing the gap of this bottleneck. And also Russians moved from Yablunivka, they are creating their new bridgehead. So this pocket, I also do not expect anything good, guys. In a short up to mid-term perspective, I do not expect anything good, guys, for Donbass. Plus, our allies are not helping that much as they could potentially. If Ukraine really holds the Russian aggression, I think it's important for the European Union countries, for NATO countries in general to support Ukraine. Way more than they do, but unfortunately we see the decline of the support this year. And just remember, the first breakthrough of the Russian army from Avdiivka to Pokrovsk happened then Doni was blocking the military support for Ukraine in Congress, then he wasn't the president, and you see what is happening right now, a new, even more substantial, more fast breakthrough. Again, my friends, sorry for telling you the bad news, but this is the real picture which is happening. If you want to listen just positive news, probably it's not the channel for that. Yeah, sometimes I encourage people with thumbnails. If Ukraine, for example, gets the ground, just tiny little bit, I'll put it on a thumbnail, you know, to show that Ukraine is capable for counterattack. But in general, if you look at the perspective, if we judge the current situation, in general, the picture is not that good for Ukraine. It's still far to be like catastrophe for Ukraine, for defense of Ukraine, but in Donbass, the situation is not good because, yeah, I told you, main defense lines, Ukrainian major army group is deployed there, and Russia wants to trap it, to jam it. It was their plan, by the way, in 2022, which didn't happen. But now they use this crawling tactics with significant losses. However, those losses, Russians don't care. Losses are not the factor for the Russian society, for their military command, because Russian people, they're okay with it. So why wouldn't Russian command not to use the mid-wave tactic? Some moral obligations of the Russian military command? Absolutely no. And the value of the human life in Russia historically is way lower compared to Western countries. That's why the mid-grinder is their favorite tactics. My friends, usually videos like this one, they got less views, so thank you so much for watching me, for pressing your likes, and also many thanks for your kind support on Patreon, for motivating me to film more, and hopefully with the next updates we're gonna receive some of the positive news, I hope. I wish you guys a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.